Kiss Life with Amy D on Chiltern Voice.
Bruce Springsteen there. I'm on fire. Now, I have Pip Thomas on the phone. Of course, I'm doing all of this remotely, so I hope you can hear Pip okay when I introduce her. Pip is from Edge NLP, and we're going to be talking about anxiety. Pip, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amy. It's a beautiful day, so lovely day to be speaking to you.
Isn't it just? I take it you're going to be going out and walking your dogs fairly soon, if you've not done so already.
Actually did that first thing to catch the best of the sunshine, so I did it first thing, which is lovely. Fabulous way to set up the day.
Me too. I went to Tring Park. Absolutely glorious. And I think, funnily enough, I think that walking is good for anxiety. What would you say about that?
Absolutely. When I was listening to you earlier on, Amy, I'd written myself a little list of the key things that you can do, and exercise obviously is one of them, because obviously the endorphins are released, hormones that improve our mood. So if you combine that with a furry puppy of some sort, if you're able, at the end of the lead, and just go out to the great outdoors, that can be so good for you. Also, change of scenery makes a big difference. Gets you away from spending time focusing on whatever it is that potentially is giving you anxiety, or focusing on thinking that you might have anxiety in the first place.
Yes, so true. And that movement as well. When we are sat still a lot, everything kind of gets a bit stagnant, doesn't it?
It does, and we then have expectations that the same thing's going to happen. We're in the same environment. I mean, lockdown is an interesting place to be for so many reasons, but by virtue of the fact, for those people, for instance, who are working at home, you're in the same environment, sitting at your desk, and previously you might have been walking around an office to talk to people, or if you're at home as a family member, again, there's seemingly no opportunity to have the same kind of expansive life that you might have had previously.
And in the work that you do, Pip, because with NLP, are you finding that people are coming to you and saying, what can I do? I'm feeling really anxious and uncertain. What can I do?
Absolutely, and I've also spoken to a number of people who've kind of said, I'm working really hard at trying to get rid of anxiety. And my thoughts around that are really quite clear. So no matter what our mental capacity might be, if we're trying to use our conscious mind to get rid of anxiety, it's just not going to work. Our conscious mind didn't create it in the first place. It's very much created at an unconscious level. And this is where NLP and hypnosis can really help, because both of them reach the unconscious mind. And our unconscious, the way it works, Amy, is it believes whatever we give it to be true. So if we're sitting there in a place where we're completely in a place of worry, of unease, a feeling of anxiety, and we're focusing on that, then actually we're feeding that situation. So what we want to do is find a way to break that pattern of behaviour, a way of creating some positive outcomes, or positive anchors, if you like, positive states that we can go to in order to change our current thought process.
So it's a little bit like feeding your body nothing but junk food.
It's a really good analogy, actually. We're constantly doing that. It's a bit like if you go on a binge of watching sad movies over a weekend. Oh my gosh, you're going to start your week feeling really down. So it is. If we're in a place where we're stuck, and when we're in that place, Amy, it's very difficult to know how to get out of it. So we have to make a conscious effort to change our pattern of behaviour in order to jar almost the unconscious mind to start reacting and thinking differently. You mentioned earlier on this morning, Amy, that last night you stayed up late listening to good music and dancing around the kitchen. There's a real feel good around that. Music can be an incredibly positive anchor for us, and the more we're able to create positive states, whether it's locations, Tring Park you talked about, also whether it's talking to friends and family on the phone that bring us that feel-good feeling, it's a very powerful thing to do. We want to really start to re-educate the unconscious mind in the way that it's thinking and reacting to things.
So what is, if somebody listening is suffering from anxiety, what would be your top tips?
So my top tips would be, first, a number of things to start with, which aren't necessarily NLP, but just good things to think about. The first thing I would say is a bit of thinking about self-help, take some time to do some journaling. First thing in the morning, write down everything that's in your mind, because if you get it out of your mind onto a piece of paper, it's no longer playing out as your script. The other thing is exercise. We just talked about that. Diet and nutrition, thinking about what you're feeding yourself also, because there's a definite link between what happens in our stomachs and what happens in our minds. Meditation, relaxation techniques and mindfulness could also be really, really powerful. I'd also then start thinking around, take yourself to a place where, a happy place, for instance, in your mind, a place that has been a real feel-good place for you. I don't know if anyone's been watching I'm a Celebrity, but Jordan was in a task the other day and he kept going, happy place, happy place, happy place. And it's really key, Amy, because we'll all have some form of memory that gives us a really positive outcome. And if we can take ourselves to that place, we'll start to build new neurological pathways of strength and happiness and start moving us away from that place of anxiety.
You know, I've always thought about those neurological pathways as, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It's a bit like ploughing a furrow in a field. You know, you habitually, if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, so there you go, grinding away, furrowing away at this this groove, and you then what you need to do is step out of that and furrow a new groove. And I always think about it as getting into a new groove.
Oh, I like that, Amy. That works. That works for me. Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. Our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination, and it will believe everything that enters it to be real, even if it doesn't really serve us. So by getting into a new groove, we're giving it new information for it to follow and for it to believe. Does that make sense? And it follows instruction. It's quite simplistic in the way that it works, Amy. So the subtlest of changes in our behaviours will start to change the way we're thinking about things. And then we seek evidence to support that. And before you know it, we have a whole new way of thinking. And it's a gradual process.
Do you know, what I love about this, Pip, is it's empowering, because I think that a lot of people who suffer from anxiety, and when I say anxiety, I mean something that isn't a clinical depression,
yeah,
feel that they are helpless and have no control, when in actual fact, if you can literally get your head round it, you can start making choices that are beneficial and can actually have an impact and change the way your mind is working.
Completely. The most important thing that you just said there, Amy, is around taking back control and feeling empowered to do so. And sometimes all we need to do is look for the little wins. And even in a day where we are steeped in our thoughts around anxiety and worry and unease, there will still be little wins. And acknowledging those little wins bring us a sense of empowerment and can help us move forward. It's almost like being able to step outside of where we are and looking at ourselves in a disassociated way and notice the good things that have happened for us that day.
So, but do you know, I think, Pip, we could actually talk about this for the rest of the show, but not able to do that because it is such an interesting conversation and there are so many aspects to it. But if you could leave us with those sort of a condensed 3 steps for anybody to take right now if they are struggling with anxiety, what would they be?
Okay, the first thing would be is to get yourself outside. Get outside and get some fresh air, because that will help you massively. The second thing would be to notice the small good things that are happening in your life, because there will be some. And the third thing would be to take yourself back to a place, a memory that you have, where things have been positive, where things have felt like you're empowered and you have that level of control. And just remind yourself of everything that was going on at that moment in time. And whenever you can, throughout the day, sit down, find a space and take yourself back to that place and start to create a new state and a new anchor that you can go to. A happy place, Amy.
I'm just thinking about something that I did this week, which, on the anniversary of my parents' death this week, I thought, well, I can either sit here and think about them and be unhappy and sad, or I can go and do something really positive and turn that today around, which is what I did. So I so understand that imperative to get out of the groove that you're in and start creating a new one.
Absolutely. And the final thing, I know you said 3, but I'm going to go for 4, Amy, because I can.
Go for it.
The final thing is really be mindful of the conversation you're having with yourself. Do you remember what I said? The unconscious mind believes whatever we give it to be true. So if we can start to change our internal dialogue and be really mindful of the language we use with ourselves, we'll start to change those neurological pathways.
Yeah, do you know what? I went through a little bit of a down patch a couple of months ago, and I listened to some Tony Robbins stuff, and he came out with a phrase that really, really helped me at that time, because my internal dialogue was throwing all sorts of negative scenarios that I was inventing in my mind, and he said, he was saying those things no longer serve you. This is what you do. You just say erase, erase, erase. And
yeah, perfect.
Absolutely brilliant. Every time I started thinking that way, and I still do it, I just go erase, erase, erase. No longer serves me. I'm moving into a new groove.
Perfect. Exactly. It's the new groove time, Amy.
Definitely. It is. Well, talking of new grooves, Pip, I've chosen a song for you to follow our conversation. I know you're a bit of a Bastille fan.
I am indeed, actually. Which one are you playing?
Well, I'm playing their latest one, which is Surviving.
Oh, well, perfect. There we go.
There we go. Pip, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Sorry. Absolutely wonderful conversation, and thank you for all your tips.
Very welcome. Take care. Have a great day.
Cheers,
Bye.
Pip. Bye.